Hello, today we're going to talk about concept 2, recognizing a function. To recognize a function, every element in the domain, which is your x-axis, there exists exactly one element in the range. So again, your domain is your x, your range is the y. Here's some examples that we could look at. If you notice in the table here, the x0 has only one answer for y. F of x is also known as y. Each one of these elements in the x has exactly one answer or one y. In this mapping, we have the same thing. 1 belongs to D, 2 belongs to B. Even though 3 and 4 point to A, they each only have one element in the range or in the y. And from a graph, you have to use the vertical line test. What that means is we draw a vertical line. If that vertical line touches the graph at exactly 1 point, then it is a function. Compared to these over here, where we draw a vertical line and it touches the y in 2 points or has a top and a bottom, that is not a function. And that does that several places. I could move that line across. If it ever touches in 2 places, it is not a function. Again, there can only be exactly one element in the y. So therefore, that is not a function. Again, let's look at this table over here. The 0 has only one element. The 1 only has one element in the y. The 4 as well. However, the 9, there's a 3 in the y and a 4. A 9 cannot point to a 3 and a 4. Therefore, this is not a function. From the map, we have the same issue. If you notice, the 4 here points to a 5 and a -5. Again, it cannot have two elements in the y or two elements in the range. Therefore, those are not a function. Okay, so all 4 of these graphs on this side are not functions. So again, only one element in the domain. Okay, there exists exactly one element in the range. Let's look at some examples. It says determine which relations represent functions. If the relation is not a function, state why not. The first one we have here is example 3. From an equation, you could plug in any number in for x. Let's just say x equals 1 for simplicity reasons. We're going to go y equals 1 to the second power minus 4. 1 to the second power becomes 1 minus 4. Y will equal -3. When I plug in 1 every time, it'll always come out as an answer as -3. It'll never be something different. Therefore, that is a function. Let's look at this mapping on example 4. In example 4, each element in the domain points to one element in the range. The 4 only points to 11. The -1 points to 14. The 0 points to 11, and again, that is okay as long as 0 only points to one element in the range. And the 3 points to 2. Therefore, each one of these elements in the domain, there exists only one element in the range, so this is a function. Let's look at some more examples. Let's look at the table. If you notice here, we have 2 2's in the domain. So in the domain, we have a 2 there and a 2 there. If they have the same number in the range, then we're okay. However, the 2 has a 4 this time and a 0 this time. A 2 cannot have two different outputs or two different ranges. Therefore, this is not a function. And the reason is because the domain 2 has two outputs or two elements in the range. Therefore, it is not a function. And anytime we test a graph, again, we use the vertical line test. You could use a pencil or your finger, run it across. This always hits my graph at only 1 point as I move along. Even when it gets really steep here, to exaggerate this line keeps fading away. and therefore it only touches that line at one point, therefore it only has one element in the range. Hopefully that clears up identifying domain and range for you.